Would it be true to say that I ordered you? Or is it you that ordered me? I could say you are the only one I see, but I can't stop at 2 or 3. And I am afraid to need you so. And I am too sober not to know that you may be my problem, not my love.
Thank you so much, everybody, for joining this evening show. Of course, just want to always say thank you guys for taking the time out of your evening to spend a little time with me. Always all the gratitude in the world. You could be doing something else, but you're here with me, and that's cool. So, guys, if this is your first time checking out the show, we are streaming live, of course, on YouTube. You can check it out on our YouTube channel there at www.youtube.com/C/made from scratch broadcast. If you're watching on YouTube, please like, comment, and share, and please consider subscribing to the channel and hit the notification bell. It'll let you know whenever we schedule new lives, whenever we are live like we are right now, or whenever we drop new content on the channel. So if you're watching on YouTube, thank you. And of course, we are streaming live on Facebook. You can check us out on our Facebook page at MFSB Live on Facebook. Same sort of deal. Hit the like button there. It'll give you the option to set reminders. So whenever we do go live, you'll get a notification on there. You'll never miss us on Facebook. So check us out on Facebook if you're watching there. Thank you guys so much. And of course, we are streaming live on Twitter via Periscope at MFSB Live, on Twitch as well at twitch.tv/MFSB Live. And of course, we are streaming live on our favorite platform, LinkedIn. So if you're checking us out on LinkedIn, thank you guys so much. Send an invitation to connect. I am always open to taking new connections, meeting new interesting people every day. So please, if you're not connected with me, connect with me. You can check me out on Facebook. LinkedIn. Send me a connection to request. I answer all my requests by my time. So if I don't answer right away, it's because I got a lot and I'm trying to answer them all. But if you're connected with me, thank you so much. And of course, we have a special show for me. These two gentlemen I'm bringing on the show. One of them I met first in person before I even knew that we could be connected on social media. So that was kind of cool to get that first sort of real life connection, right? I was actually invited to a workshop with Miss Lila Smith, and this gentleman was here, and he was part of a cool thing. And I actually met a few cool people out of there that I've connected with, that I've stayed connected with. One of them I've already had on the show, Mr. Michael Goldberg. We got more things going in the future with him. I'll let you know about that later. And of course, I met Fanny Dunnigan, who also streams live. You've checked out her content on LinkedIn. She's pretty awesome as well. And of course, Lila, who's been on the show as well. So there was quite a few people in that group. And now I am glad to add this gentleman as well. And of course, he has a partner. They actually do a live stream every day. Impressive. Again, every day that you do this, because it's not easy for all those folks who watch. I always tell everybody, you gotta put it in. You gotta give it those people who put in the time and the work to do this every day, because it does take a lot of work and effort. And on top of this, they handle client work. They're family men. They do all these other things as well. It's not the easiest thing in the world to put all these things together. So I'm gracious that they're going to take the time out of their evening to join me for a conversation. So guys, help me welcome to the show this evening's guest, Mr. Jake L. Jordan and Mr. John Hill. So I got to switch this up, because again, here we go. We got the round table going on here. Wrong way. There we go. Okay, we are back and moving in line. So thank you, gentlemen, first of all, for coming on the show. I do appreciate y'all taking the time to come on here and have a wonderful conversation. Now, one of the coolest things that, again, look at that. It's going to throw it off, but that's okay. We'll bring in the comments. I'll have to minimize them a little bit. That's okay. But one of the cool things that like I was telling everybody, is that I actually got to meet Jake before I actually connected with him online. So that was one of the cool things about actually meeting real life connection. This was all pre-COVID too. This was like right before all this crap, like took off on this line of its own. But that little session kind of helped change my trajectory of how I wanted to do things, and it really put me in motion to go out there and find my own voice. So not long after that is when I started putting the idea together of putting a podcast at first. And then I said, you know what? If I'm going to do it, and my friend was the one that kind of challenged me on it. I said, hey, man, if you're going to do it, if you want to challenge yourself, and that was the whole thing I was trying to do for myself, he goes, get on camera. Do it on camera, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I said, who the hell's going to watch me? All right. Okay. So at that point, I said, you know what? I'm going to try it. Did it. Here we are. It gets us to this point here. But one of the things that I kind of like about what both you gentlemen do, and when I first started watching you, how long have you been on the show? Like almost 6 months, right? Somewhere around there. I think
5-6 months, somewhere in there.
Somewhere around there, right? I started seeing you guys go live, and I'm a big intaker of live stream video, watching people just go on there and do their thing. And then I started seeing you guys like every day, and I said, "Oh, these guys are doing it every day." Plus, I already knew Jake, and I said, I started taking in your guys' concept. I mean, your content. So, what was the genesis of you guys putting this show together and saying, you know what, let's do this. Let's go ahead and put this out there and see if somebody will find value in what we're sharing. And I'm going to tell you what, maybe there's not enough people that know about you guys yet, but there is a lot of value in what you guys bring to the table every single day. So kind of walk me through that a little bit. Tell me about your story of coming up with the Bill show. Kind of let people know what Bill is, and two, that's another thing.
It's a secret, Gabe. We don't tell people what that is. Yeah. I'll let John hop on and fill this in, but I can tell you that we had some failed starts.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
We've done something a few times, and we finally just went, "Hey, COVID, let's do it for real." So it's called Morning Bill.
Morning Bill.
Your buddy Bill, Morning Bill.
Yeah.
And John, I'll let you decide how much of that you want to share.
So yeah, all right. So the title comes from way back in the day. Jake and I worked together at a bank branch, and that's how we met. And I was not on any planet of being productive or trying to be efficient or effective or anything. I was just the guy who hated my job and didn't really want to work in this role that I was in. And then Jake comes in, and Jake is this, he's talking about being an entrepreneur, and he's talking about wanting to work in marketing. And I'm like, man, you realize we're in a branch, right? Like, holy crap. Like you're in the wrong building, man. Like you got to go over to Dallas for this. And he was like, no, I'm going to work my way in. And I was kind of like, okay. And we just became friends because we were working in the same place. And we were both really friendly with this woman named Tamara who worked the front desk, who called us both her work husbands. So then we just started calling each other brother-in-law, right? Bill for short. And then I left the branch first, stayed in banking for a little bit, and then transitioned into like outside sales and kind of went on this crazy path. And Jake went away from the branch eventually and went into like agency realm. And then I guess about 3 years ago or so now, we were going to do a podcast together because I was scared. I was scared shitless, right? About being the voice on something like this, right? I have a stutter. I've had it ever since I was a kid. So the idea of being on a radio show on a regular basis was at the same time, I mean, something I wanted to do and also terrifying. And Jake had done one before, and I'd guessed it on that show, and I was like, man, we can work together to do this. We were both way too busy. We did one episode and it went down in glorious flames. I went out and I bought a mixer. It's still underneath my desk right here, just in a random chance I ever break it out again. And it was going to be called Pivot Mountain, right? Because we thought it would be interesting to interview entrepreneurs who've had to pivot their business in a meaningful way, right? Yeah. How'd you know it was time? How'd you figure it out? And we were both just kind of jazzed up about this, but we're both too busy and too scattered and never went anywhere. So earlier this year, Jake and I were both kind of like, we want to double down, essentially, right? Like, this is the time. Like, we were both talking about how on the other side of the pandemic, we both believe that the people who everybody's talking about in about 5 or 10 years of the people that worked as hard as they could during this time to like help people out, bring value, and try to just lift everybody up. And so Jake said, we were just going to have an accountability call every day. I'm a big believer in accountability. And he goes, you just want to do it on video? I said, no, I don't want to do it on video, right? Like, I don't want to be up at super early and like making myself looking like an idiot. And he was like, no, come on, it'll be great. And I was like, all right, man, but you got to lead the way. And so that was it. And we kind of put together this productivity plan, borrowing and stealing from different things that we tried and stuff that worked and stuff that didn't. And we kind of built this weird productivity method that we're both running each week, right? So essentially we just make a bet that makes it really uncomfortable to fail is what it boils down to, right? So each week Jake knows my big goals, so he can hold me accountable to if the activities that I pick to hold myself accountable for in a week are moving me towards those goals or not. Because growth is what happens outside of your comfort zone. So if you're just constantly picking things that are comfortable and easy and everything, you're not growing, right? And Jake is a marketing guy. I'm a sales guy. So we both decided to kind of complement each other this way because I am the worst at marketing myself, right? Like I try to make it too clever and too all these things, and then I don't ever do anything with it. So that's kind of where we were. But 6 months, man, that sounds crazy. And then we hop into this show, right? Like I'm like, okay, like this is pretty legit. So we get in here and Gabe is like, he's moving people around. I'm like, what are we doing wrong with our lives? Like we don't have any of this. We're late half the time, right? And he's like next level with the music and like all of the stuff. I'm blown away, and I'm also like, I've never been more like emasculated about like a work thing, I think.
Well, and the whole thing is, it's like anything. So you guys had to learn how to actually work together and how to actually learn how to play each other when you're doing a live show. Mm-hmm. Now, that's one thing that I have not mastered that you guys are a little bit better at, is you have a partner, right? So you have the ability to kind of play off each other a little bit more. You kind of know each other's styles. Now, I got to give you guys kudos for this, because number one, it's hard to ask somebody, go, hey, let's go live every single day, Monday through Friday. Let's do this, right? Mm-hmm. So to somebody to make the commitment and do that, which is why I don't have a partner in the first place, because again,
you can find somebody as stupid as us.
Exactly, right? You got to find a certain breed, right?
So a certain breed, yeah.
You got to find a certain breed that'll say, yes, I'll commit to it, right? So you got to respect those people who actually put in the time and work. And I don't know many, right? I can probably name about 6 or 7 people that I know off the top of my head that do this every day. And that's minus you two. So there's 4 other people that I know, right, that actually do this every day. So it takes a lot to kind of say, you know what, I can talk about a topic every single day, open up about it, and add some sort of value to what I'm sharing. Even the value that you guys are sharing in your own personal lives, right? When you talk about things that can equate to, you can't open a door, sweetheart. What did you do?
Personal lives? What was that?
My daughter coming here when I was doing my live stream here, which is the sign of the times, folks. If you don't know, and she cannot find her way to get the door open and go back in the house. Let your sister in. Thank you. Awesome. So, but again, the whole thing about it is the fact that you got to come up every single day and say, you know what can I share that I didn't talk about yesterday?
Something that John and I figured out, I think, in the last month or so, though, is we definitely tried to be more structured in the beginning. We had backgrounds, we had different things going on, we did different stuff, and we were like, you know what? Like the part that really matters to us, selfishly, is showing up. Yeah. Like we got to get here and we got to keep each other accountable, right? And then, but the second thing that happened is we really started. It may have just been like not enough coffee or too much coffee, or like one story led to another. But like we just started really like sharing stuff about our lives, and that's what people really like to be a part of when they're in an audience. I think like I want to learn something on a show, but like I'm going to come back because I enjoyed myself.
Exactly. Exactly.
So I think that's where John and I we have an advantage. I would say that over a lot of people is because we've known each other for so long. It's kind of like an old married couple. I heard a story for the first time this week that I hadn't heard before, and I was like, "Oh God, oh what's going on? What have you been hiding from me?" The perfume story.
Oh God, yeah, the perfume story.
Yeah.
That was
so. That makes a difference when once you there's a comfort level once you get on camera for a while and you just realize that there's just people over there and you just treat it like a dinner party and just be yourself,
Yeah. Go ahead.
I don't like how I come across on camera. I don't like my voice. I don't like any of these things. But the thing that I had to kind of wrap my head around was that this is what everybody else hears anyway. So I'm just late to the party. So if this is the thing that is the perfume story,
okay, we need to hear it.
I'm gonna need like 3 more people to be like, I want to hear the perfume story. If we're gonna go down that path.
Well, okay.
Let me go get
I see. Well, I'm one too. So
you're one too. Okay.
Okay,
my gosh.
So here we go. We got another one. She says Mary Ellen says we'll hear the perfume story. So go ahead.
I want to. Well, first, I just want to say thanks to Kenneth, right? Because these books on the shelves are here for. Well, I'm sorry. This shelf is on purpose. This shelf I'm not allowed to actually touch. This one over here. So we're big readers. We collect lots of books. These are my books, and this is the Bowie collection over here. So my girlfriend has been and life partner and coworker and amazing editor, has been obsessed with David Bowie since she was like 5 years old. So this is an entire Bowie shrine, and so I'm not allowed to even breathe on it. So
would you say that Bowie wears perfume?
Dude, absolutely he does. Come on.
So
all right, cool.
Do you have a story about perfume that you Bowie might respect?
Yes.
All right.
Let's hear it. There you go. See, they're asking for it. They want to say, let's hear the perfume story. You open Pandora's box, you got to go ahead and just.
I did. All right.
I'm sorry. I set you up. Not sorry. Yeah. Not sorry.
I'm not sorry at all. So I'm 20 years old and I live in Fort Worth, Texas, which is part of DFW, but people don't really normally hear about Fort Worth unless they're from here. So I had a job working in North Dallas. So the commute was about 50 minutes, right, each way, right? And it was kind of miserable. But I had this brand new truck. So I said, hey, mileage, who cares? And so I took this job and my mom comes to me one day and she was like, hey, your sister's going through some stuff. Could you get a job a little bit closer to home? Because I was working nights. I was working from 3 until midnight. It was a call center environment. And I said, yeah, Mom, I'm going to be happy to help out with this. So I'm looking through the paper. That's how long ago this was, right? There was no Craigslist or anything. And I see this thing that says management opportunities, call below. And at 20 years old, I'm thinking, I need to be in management. Right? Like something is not right with the world if I'm not managing other humans at the ripe age of 20 years old. So I go in and this guy is like the ultimate hypey sales guy, like everything I rail against now, right? And he's just like, man, you're gonna make so much money, it's gonna be epic and everything else like this. He's not really giving me a whole lot of information, but he's like, if you do this for a little bit longer, man, you're gonna have your own team. It's gonna be, and I'm like, oh, this is fantastic, right? So I'm like, okay, cool. I would like the job. He's like, come back on Saturday. I was like, great. So I show up on Saturday and there's a rally going on, right? And I'm like, oh, okay, like this is bizarre. There's lots of people here. I don't really know what's going on. And these guys are making it rain $1 bills and the crowd is going like crazy. There's probably 100 people in this room, right? Big old auditorium. And people are going crazy over these $1 bills. Like I see them making it rain and I'm like, oh, dip, let me get in there, right? And then I get in there and I'm like, these are ones? This sucks. What am I even excited about? So they're talking about the numbers and who did what and everything else. And they're like, cool, come back tomorrow. And I'm like, tomorrow? So I go and I find my new boss and I'm like, hey, what's up with tomorrow? And no, it's not Jonah Hill. Oh, man. Okay. And so the guy was like, oh yeah, so tomorrow you're going to go out of town to another city because we want you to be hungry for these sales, right? So don't bring any money. Because we want you to be hungry again. We want you to be away from your friends and your family so that we are focused on nothing but sales, right? Because like that's what it's going to take to succeed. And I'm like, cool, like awesome, okay. And these are designer imposter perfume and colognes, right? I don't think I mentioned that at the outset of it. It's kind of important to the story.
They're not even
the best part.
So these are not
even perfume.
No.
Designer imposter perfume.
Because you know what, bro? You can't patent a scent. literally part of the sales speech, right? So yeah, don't bring money. So the next day, they're like, hey, we'll give you a $100 bonus if you want to drive your own truck. And I'm like, all right, cool. Thank God I did, right? Because I quit really, really quickly. So they're like, okay, cool. This is your squad, and you guys are going to Lubbock, right? Which is about 7 hours, 7 hours away, right? And so I'm like, all right, cool. Me and this guy who I don't know hop in my truck. We drive all the way out there. We're just listening to like some like chill hip hop music and everything. And we get there, and I start to realize that I have maybe made a bad decision when the guy goes, cool, let me go get the room. And there's like 8 of us on this crew who have caravanned out to Lubbock at this point. And I'm like, wait, room? And they're like, yeah, one room for all of us. And I'm like, okay, starting to have some second thoughts here, right? Maybe the management isn't what I'm looking for.
Maybe questioning.
Yeah, questioning a little bit. So we go in there. Guy gets the keys, right? There's one guy with the money, and the rest of us are just crew people and everything. And we've been on the road for a while. So the first guy goes in there, blows up the John, like just completely blows it up, right?
Dude.
So it's backed up, and like we can't use it, and we can't call anybody because there's 8 people in this room. There's supposed to be 1, right? So we all go to sleep. Next day is first day. And this is in 2000. And so literally just walking up and down the streets of Lubbock, and you would see people at a gas station, you'd walk up and be like, you smell good, man. What kind of cologne is that? That's literally what they wanted us to do to people, right? And then invite them over to our trunk to look at the wares that we have in our trunk. Like, can you imagine the ridiculousness of trying to do that now?
Oh my God.
So I'm all of 20 years old. I'm not this version of me. I have not gone to the army. I'm just quiet, right? I'm very unsure of myself. And so like, I'm wildly uncomfortable talking to these people. And so I don't. And so on Tuesday, I'm like, okay, I'm leaving. This is crazy. I don't like this. I'm just not cut out for management, right? And so they put me on the phone with the manager, and the manager's giving me this big long spiel about how he took a big shot. I was like, cool, I'll wait one more day. That night, an ice storm comes into Lubbock, right? which doesn't happen very often. And it turns like Lubbock is known as the armpit of Texas, right? In yes. a lot of circles, because it's just like a big dust bowl.
Conversion, yep.
And then it turns into a mud bowl, right? And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. So yeah, go on and sniff. God, you smell good, man. So at about 4 o'clock, I'm like, okay, I can't do this anymore. I called the manager, and I was like, man, I appreciate the opportunity, but I can't do this. I'm just not cut out. I'm leaving. The guy's like, okay. And dude, I'm broke at this point, right? So it's about 5 o'clock, and I'm just distraught. I don't know what I'm going to do at this point. And so I'm driving back, and I'm so disappointed that I have to go back and
God,
tell all my friends that this role that I was super excited about, how I was going to fast track my way to management, didn't work out the way that I thought it was going to. So yeah.
Oh my gosh.
About 2 months later, I walked in to an Army recruiter's office, and I was like, "Hey, you got anything going on?" And they're like, "Well, how about a bonus?" And I was like, "Let's go." And so pretty quickly after that, I shipped out.
I'm going to Uncle Sam and taking care of that. So I love this comment, Nick. Thank you so much for putting that down there. It says, "Yep, get your cold hot dog and some imitation."
That was it, man. And the stuff that I wore at the time was the stuff called Swiss Army, right? And a friend of mine had shown me it, and I love that stuff. They had that, and like I was like, man, this is only $13. Why am I paying $60 at Dillard's? This is stupid. This makes so much sense. Is this a comedy club? I wish.
Yeah.
I need a brick background, right?
You go.
Fine.
And that's the second time I've heard that story, and it was just as funny.
Oh my God, dude.
I gotta say.
But that is commitment to at least saying, you know what, I want to go find my career. So I'm going to go hop in my truck and go out to.
Don't give that guy any credit. Don't give that. I mean, a 20-year-old who's responding to an ad in the paper for like management opportunities at 20 years old out of some stupid sense of entitlement. Crazy, right? Like it's so
great.
Dumb. That guy deserves no credit whatsoever.
So, and one of the cool things, again, this is what people love, and this is what you guys are opening up to on the show,
Yeah.
right? These are some of the things that, again, that people kind of say, you know what, this story is funny. It resonates with me. It also impacts by sharing, hey, don't do these things. You can make these mistakes, right? Don't do as I do,
Yeah.
but one of the things that I really like about why I watch you guys every day, and I do watch you guys every day.
Yeah, you do.
Sometimes I don't get to like comment because I'm actually driving, but I do have
Working?
you.
Yeah.
I'm working, and I have you guys on, and but when I do, it's always interesting because one of the cool things that I've really loved that you guys do is you hold each other accountable, right? And that's part of what the big thing of the show is. And one of the cool things that I like what you doing is when you make your bets, right? I mean, this is where behind the whole saying of put your money where your mouth is,
Yeah.
right? I've seen these guys make $100, $500 bets on the show to make sure that they get everything done. So you can see kind of like sometimes there's a panic in the eyes of I don't know if I'm gonna make my goal.
Those are the best ones. Those are the best ones. See, what most people don't know is we don't always hit our bets, right? This isn't something where we set bets and we always hit them. Even this last week, I was supposed to do. So I'm writing a book, and I was doing putting an outline together for the book. And on the show, I was like, "All right, John, I'm going to have the outline to you." And it's going to be ready, and then that's Monday, right? And then Tuesday's show, I'm like, I don't like the outline. I'm going to change the outline. He's like, bro. and then Thursday or no, Friday, before he can get to it, I cut him off the pass, and I'm like, okay, I haven't sent John the outline yet, so he can't tell me out. But it's going to get. So then, okay, it's Sunday night at 6:45, and I'm like, I feel like I'm forgetting something. There's something. I'm like, oh, so I run to my computer, and luckily the outline was about 98% done. I had a couple of spots to fill in, and I sent it to him like 8 p.m. or something. Yeah. But I never ever would have felt the need to do that if I didn't know that Monday morning
I was
Suavecito over there would be calling me out on my BS.
and that's the cool thing about it is the fact that, like I said, when you have that motivation to do those sort of things, right? That's why I love when you guys come on and say, "Hey, it's Thursday." You get to that point. Where are we at? Where are we on the thing? So, and it's cool that you guys have each other to hold each other accountable. And great. And excuse me, Jake has a group that people can join, right? That you do the same sort of deal, right? Where people can come in there, they place their bet, and you kind of keep them accountable to what their bet is, So whatever they lay down, this is what it is,
Yeah, John and I feel like that we're like big practitioners. So like we feel like if there's something that we say, that we should also be doing it, modeling it, and learning in it, and being coached in it, and mentoring others in it, and like as many ways as possible. Like so like John has Sales Lab, right? And Sales Lab is a place where you go to do repetitions and sales pitches, so that when you get in the spot, there's no nerves. It's muscle memory, right? I've got a groups for people to come in and make a bet and do something amazing in 30 days. And you got to put your money where your mouth is, right? So we're just a big on bringing in people to come do the stuff with us. Because we know, I think one of my favorite things is community around accountability. Like community is great, but like if we're not doing stuff, it's just like hanging out, right? Which is cool too. It's what we're doing right now. It's awesome. But like, I just think it's super cool.
When you can do something like that with intent.
You do stuff about it. You don't just talk about it on a podcast, for example. There's a lot of people with podcasts that are great, but me and John, that's what we feel like our angle was, is like, how about if we like did it in front of everybody? Like show everybody what we're dealing with here.
Yeah. Exactly. And that's cool that you guys, again, put that out there. And, and again, it is not the most easiest thing to do. Like that you're bringing in not only your what you're doing with your live show, but you're also bringing in the business side of what you do. And then you also guys, when you talk about what you're going to lay out, you also put out there that, hey, I got to have time for myself, or I got to have time for family, because that's just as important, right? That's that mix that everybody talks about, that work balance life that you want to have. That's really important for a lot of people. I know I struggle with it as well, because again, here I am, I'm doing a live show. I work a full-time job. I got a family of 4, and I work really hard to try to keep a balance. So it's not the easiest thing to do. So that's why when I see like people who really, when they're really passionate about these things, it's cool to kind of say, you know what, I want to reach out to that person and figure out what it is in their process of how they put everything together, because maybe they're doing something a little bit different that could help me learn. I mean, I had to learn how to simplify the process, and that was one of the things I actually came on with you guys one time. Very early on, and I was out on doing my deliveries, and I remember my laptop had cut out, and I didn't get to finish the conversation, but that was one of the things that you guys were talking about, laid out very early on. And I knew at that point, I said, you know what, I gotta find an easier way to do this, right? That's the whole. If you're not gonna do that, you're gonna crash and burn. So I literally had to figure out the easiest ways to start putting together, and started hearing you guys talk about automation and finding things that can help you make things easier. And again, some of it is sometimes, if you got things that you can delegate, awesome, even better. Find those people, right? I've had people recommend to me who like interns who do it for free. I just got to, give them recommendations, say course credit or whatever they need from me. Hey, here's my production company. This is what we do. If you guys want to, learn how to do some of this process, I will show you, and somebody mentioned that to me, and I said, light bulb, awesome. Makes everything easier. So if there's certain things that you can take care of and you don't have to do it yourself, why not, man? That's why I hear you guys talking about it all the time. And I go, this is what I mean when I tell you the value. Value.
John always says, know what you're optimizing for. Right, John?
Yes. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, right. Because, you were talking about this a moment ago, but like Jake and I are both family guys, right? And there's not a dad or a parent on the planet who wants to be the person who's like that sitcom parent who's like way too invested in their work. And so then like the kid's sad, right?
Yeah.
But in the middle of, very early on in COVID, right? I lost like a whole lot of revenue, just like a lot of other people did. And so I'm pulling like marathon sessions back here behind the desk. And, nobody wants to be that person. I didn't want to be that either, right? And I've done a lot of things around accountability and have had different accountability partners and stuff. This is the first time doing it as a live show, but and doing it daily. But I want to be present for my family, right? And that means that I need to make sure that I'm optimizing for the time that I'm here in this space doing my work, right? Which means that I need to focus on my self-care, right? Yes. Every morning I get up, right? I go for a walk. I journal for about 35 minutes, just kind of stream of consciousness, and then we go right into build. And it's that daily. I talked about it yesterday. Yesterday I didn't want to work, right? I got up and I was like, man, what kind of idiot decided I was going to work this week? Oh, this guy? Okay, cool. I guess I'm going to work this week, right? But going through those motions. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Going through those motions of getting up and coming in here, putting on my watch, putting in my headphones, all these things. And by the time I hit that walk, right, the ritual has been so ingrained at this point that I'm just like happy, right? I'm listening to like a little bit of stoicism to make sure that my mindset is right, a little bit of like early morning tunes to get like the heartbeat up, and then, some kind of book. And then I go straight to journaling in this. And so by the time that I get to Bill, right, I have done so much kind of like processing and kind of dialing the mindset that like the only thing that I'm really focused on in that thing is just making sure I know what's on my plate. I know what's on Jake's plate. And we've got a pretty clear grasp of like, if anything is going to get in the way of doing those things, right? Because when the things you're passionate about, you do. Right. And this is really important because, I have another show. It's a sales podcast. It's called Sales Throwdown. And we talk about personalities and selling, right? And the importance of being self-aware. And all of this stuff that I'm really on it about are just things that offset Jake's shortcomings and vice versa. Jake will tell you, I can't help but like giving people what I think they want. And from a marketing standpoint, that's terrible because you're supposed to give them what they need. You're supposed to give them what they think they want, so that way later on you have enough trust to give them what they need.
Exactly.
And I can't even do that. I'm just like, you're doing all of this wrong, and I just turned into like this kind of guy. And so we were really, really trying to work on these skill sets that the other person has. Jake was having lots of sales conversations and wanted some help, and I think I do an okay job of coming up with unique ideas for other people's marketing, but there's a great saying that, like, you can think you're great at marketing, but then try to market yourself and see how well it goes, right? It's kind of the true test.
Mhm.
Yes.
And the really interesting thing is that, like, after a while, it's not about the money. It's not about the bet. I mean, sure, that's great for the show and everything, but like, I really don't want to get on and have to tell this guy, let me point the right direction, that I didn't do the things that I said I was going to do.
That guy over there.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
guy right there.
Mhm.
There you go. There he is.
And that's important, right? Because when you're thinking about accountability, and like a lot of people have like bad views of it, right? It's punishment. It's lording over somebody. It's the busting of the chops that happen whenever you miss something and stuff. And that's not accountability, in my opinion. Accountability is clear vision of the big goals, and a mutual respect and a mutual accountability, right? Because if somebody's holding you accountable, but you're not holding them accountable, that's not accountability. That's mentorship, in my opinion, right? I'm not Jake's mentor. He doesn't need me to be his mentor, or vice versa, anything else like this. So I just want to make sure that he can do his best work. And I know that Jake is like on my team, right? He wants me to crush. He wants me to win, right? He wants me to do all these things. And
of course.
that's the important thing, right? Because sometimes you get into an accountability conversation with like a friend who loves to like bust your chops and bust your balls, whenever you miss something. And a little bit of that is totally fine, but like, I have to be able to go to Jake and be like, man, I screwed up today. It was terrible. It was terrible. And I need to know that like Jake's going to be, okay, cool. Like, what do you need? Right.
Yeah.
Especially in that moment when I'm under the weight of it. Right. Cause I mean, I think Jake will tell you, I'm pretty hard on myself. Right. I love to just like ramp it up and make it as hard as possible. So that way I fail and then I'm mad about it. So absolutely, Kenyatta, accountability is ownership, right? And
It is.
the biggest thing is that when we have all these ideas in play, right? We're passionate and we get the things done that are in front of us, right? When you have a goal and it's written down and you're looking at it all the time, you can't forget about it, right? So you're just going to do a better job of staying close to that. If you just track your calories, people eat less. Right.
Yeah.
Like all of these apps. So if you just track your calories, you eat less food and you're going to lose weight. Okay, awesome. If I track all my activities and behaviors to make sure that I'm not lying to myself, right, then we're going to be better set up for success.
Yeah, that's the thing I think John and I end up finding that was a nice little backdoor was that how much you lie to yourself. You spend so much time trying to make yourself feel good about yourself. And to do that, you have to lie to yourself. Let's just be honest, right? So, and one of my favorite things that I've ever heard about accountability is that it's invited. It only works if it's invited. If it's not invited into your life, it's not going to work.
And most people run away from it, right? Because like, think about all the people who say, well, if I'm just a little bit more accountable, put that shit on the calendar, right? Like, and I do this for people all the time. I'm like, hey, do you want some help making sure you get that done? No, man, I got it. And I'm like, man, I can just hold you accountable, right? We can figure like I'll check in with you once a week for the next couple of weeks because I just like seeing people get stuff done, right? Like I have been the guy through most of my 20s and all of my 30s who was not really doing, or not all my 30s, I guess, but for the majority of them, that I was just so focused on not myself, right? I was really focused on martial arts and kung fu, so I was optimizing for that, right? And then all of a sudden I meet this guy, and he's like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur," and I was like, "Oh, whoa, like what does that mean?" And and so then I was like, wait a minute, right? And then we went our separate ways, but we stayed in touch and everything. And then I met another entrepreneur, right? And he was like, hey, and was a cool guy. And I met him at the Kung Fu school, right? I was an instructor at the school. And I was working for one of the guys who's actually on the sales throwdown with me, right? And I was selling medical devices, my first B2B role, and I was failing miserably, failing all over the place. It was terrible, right? I would pull up to these offices and I just couldn't take another no because I didn't have the mindset. I didn't have any of this stuff. And Al's a great person to work for, but he's not the best sales manager whenever I worked for them. That's true. That's true. Ronan, you are absolutely right, sir. I'm an entrepreneur.
Dude, you're on point. You're on point, Ronan.
You're on
Yes.
point.
Yes, it's so good, man. Me and Ronan might have become best friends
That's
over
it.
the course of just like seeing his comments. It's awesome.
Hey, let me tell you what. He is an awesome dude. His name's Nick Lozano. That's his real name. Awesome dude. I'm connected with him. He's one of those people that you want to have these kind of conversations with. So it's really cool. And just before we go any further, this is why I tell people this content is made for this platform. It's a crime that you aren't on this platform to share this. And I tell everybody, now this is why you see why I find value in this every single day.
Don't get me started on not having access to LinkedIn Live, Gabe, because we have talked about this. You've had to go live as our proxy because Reed Hoffman
Gabe will
not taking my
telecast
call.
our show for us sometimes.
Yeah.
Like that's commitment right there.
Yeah.
Because again, if you believe in something enough, and if it's really enough content that I think, and you can see in the comments, people will find that it has value, and that's what I look for when I go see other people's content. How much of it is and value is not just one thing. Value is so much more. I mean, does it have entertainment value? If it does, awesome. You need to check these people out. Or if it's something that has a teachable sort of education style, like what you guys talk about, and it's very personable and it can kind of resonate with people who can actually watch and equate it into their real lives, great. That has value. That needs to be shared. So this is why I look for these sort of things, because it is it is something that I think needs to be spread. And that's why I said, hearing you guys talk about this from the very beginning was one of the things that really caught me and said, you know what, I want to stay and watch. And this is my mission, to get more eyes on you guys. This is the point of doing this. So if you guys are watching tonight and you want to go see what these guys are about, 7:45 Central Standard Time, they go live every morning on Facebook. You can go check it out. Type it in, Morning Bill, MorningBill. I'll put it in the comments. And you can go there and you can check out these guys, what they do every day and what they really work hard.
Say for the late risers, we actually rebroadcast also.
Yes, they do.
So if you want to go at noon, you can watch on Twitch or YouTube or Periscope or my Facebook page, like all sorts of places, right? So if you want to, sleep in.
And another caveat, not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow.
Good call.
We decided, okay, are we going to go at all this week? Yeah, we're going to go for a little bit. And then we decided to do Monday, Tuesday. So thank you, Gabe, for having us on. Guys, don't come tomorrow because we're not going to be there.
They're gonna be like, what the hell? He sold me on. He sold me these perfumes.
We wanted Lil Productions to be the exclamation point on our Thanksgiving week. Like that's it.
Hey, there you go. What a better way to mic drop something? Just say get done.
So this is a funny story. For Ronan, I think it's just Morning Bill, our Twitch handle. Is that correct, Jake?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. So Monday morning, I'm journaling. I used to be the guy who would make cheesecakes for Thanksgiving and the holidays. And I just got out of the habit because I had one bad experience. And so I was writing in my journal on Monday morning and I was like, like maybe I should do a cheesecake. It's been a long time. Like maybe I should do it. And then I was like, I'm not really sure. And then I got on the show and I started talking about it. And I was just like, well, now I just have to do this.
You got to do it.
Right. And so then this morning we were talking about the fact that like, it might be a cooking show because I was gonna, and it was so funny because Gabe's comment was like, "Oh, that'll be great," and I was just expecting all the lack of tone and like the terrible tone of like not wanting to deal with that, which I understand. So that being said, the pumpkin cheesecake is in the oven.
Oh, right now.
Awesome. It might be done.
Hey, and that's another thing you and Nick would have in common. Nick's actually a former, I think he used to be a chef. Right.
Oh, I have such respect for chefs because, okay, hold on. Do you want to talk about this? So, okay, I'm a C.
Anything's open here. I don't. I streamed for 3 hours yesterday, so I'm always open.
So I'm a C, right? And so when you start to look at DISC, which is the personality matrix that I find the most value in, C's are compliant, right? And so that means I like facts and figures and everything, spreadsheets and everything else. And so I've got this weird thing that I hate to cook because the time investment in the cooking is not going to pay off in the eating. Why would I spend 45 minutes cooking this thing?
You're not eating right, bro.
That because well, hold on, right? I'm an 80s kid, right? So I'm a proud clean your plate club president, right? I was in the army, right? And so when you're eating in the army, it's 7 minutes kind of deal. And I've got all the stupid head trash limiting belief around like food and machoism. I can eat all that food. It's gonna make me more of a man. Let's do this. So when I sit down to eat, it's not to relish the food. It's to like shove as much of it into my mouth as I possibly can. Because if one bite tastes good, then Gabe, a bite twice the size has got to be twice as good.
Good, right?
So
great rationale.
Yeah. I hate cooking. It just doesn't make any sense to me, right?
So this is an area that I actually am mentoring John in.
There you go.
It's called mindful eating, and you savor every last flavor in your mouth. We're working on it, clearly.
There you go, right? I mean,
yes. So
that's great, though.
I decided that I was going to do it. I did it. I made the decision on the show, right? So sometimes the peer pressure of accountability, right? Like the flip side, the dark side, if you will, right? is that you bring up things in front of like a trusted, known person. And then I talk myself into like having to do those things, even though he didn't have to do it. See, Paula is on my team. All that prep and labor, gobbled down, less time. Then exactly dishes. Right? Because if I don't cook, then I can be like, "Hey, this was your idea."
Nancy's saying yes. The food logic is sound.
Can we at least get the disc cards then? Because are those other C's? I mean, let's just be honest. Those are the compliance people speaking up,
right?
Team C.
So you should have seen me trying to, right? So my daughter's 9. I've not made a cheesecake for her entire life. And I decided to make it harder on myself and do a pumpkin cheesecake because Michelle, who's a regular watcher of our morning show, was like, "Oh, pumpkin's the jam." And I was like, let's make it harder. This is going to be awesome.
Let's complicate things. Awesome.
Yeah. We talked about this before, right? Let's make it really hard. So it's going to be really awesome if I get it done. And so I was invested in the directions, right? And I did not blend the cream cheese until smooth before adding the other elements. Apparently this is a really big deal. And my girlfriend is watching me, and I love my girlfriend to death, but she is as process driven.
And she's right there, isn't she?
Yeah, she's of course she's right here. And all of these things. And so she's just watching me. And I can feel the look, right? Like everybody knows this, right? If you have a significant other and you're getting that look, you feel it. You don't even need to like see it. You just know that it's going. And I'm just like, what? What's going on? She's like, you didn't. The cream cheese was not room temperature, so it's too hard. And I was just like, just like ready to like flip the entire counter, which wasn't going to work anyway. And she was like, "Hey, we can just start over if this is ruined." I'm like, "I'm not doing this again if this is ruined. Like this is working, or abort mission, and we'll just have a cool story." So it's in the right. Joan King knows what I'm talking about. As an I, it's about being with people and enjoying the conversation. That's exactly true, right? So. Yeah. I'll show you guys how big of like a nerd I am, right? So this is my quick reference disc guide, which you can't really see because of the glare off of my light. Yeah. But I look at this every time I'm on a call with anybody, right? Because when you can kind of shift to give that person what they need for trust, because we all get there differently, the D, the I, the S, and the C, then you can have a better sales conversation, right? A better qualifying conversation. And I, as a C, right, who's way too enamored with data and spreadsheets and facts and figures and everything, I can kill a deal because I start talking about stuff that they're not interested in. And I can't tell you how many deals that I have blown because I've overtalked and oversold because I want those details. I see value in those details, but they don't, right? And Gabe, you mentioned this a moment ago. Value is in the eye of the beholder, right? And that's super important in sales conversations because, right, like there's all of these metaphors and analogies of like salespeople who can sell anybody anything. And it's like one of the most toxic things you can do because it's already viewed badly anyway. Is it something you're born with or not? And it's a skill that you can build and cultivate with time. So, right, a whale does not need more water. like
No.
at all, right? Like, I don't care how great that water is, but like, you're not going to sell that to them, right? So instead, as opposed to spending all that time trying to sell that to them, go find somebody else who does see value in water, right?
Exactly. Right.
Your targeting is huge for this stuff. So
Or switch it up to Weight Watchers, you know?
Well, I have the same train of thought. I mean, it's like anything. I've heard people having conversations say, "Oh, this is worth so much. This is worth all this money, right?" And they'll tell me these things, and I'll say, I said, "No, it's not." They said, "Yes, it is." No, it's not. The value is in whatever somebody's going to agree to pay you. So this mouse might say it's $12, right?
Yep.
Because that's somebody's value. But if I get somebody to pay $50 for this mouse, that's the value of it. It's like anything in life. I like you again. This is the kind of content you guys get by watching the Morning Bill. So that's why
I was going to say, I've seen some people in the chat a little bit talking about wanting accountability partners, different things like that, right? Like, one of the main reasons we do the show is so that people can come join us.
Yep.
Like we have said over and over on the air, we're not trying to build a massive iTunes following. Like, that is not what we're optimizing for. What we're optimizing for is creating enough value that enough people find it valuable that they go tell other people, and we have that 1,000 loyal fans. Like, that's kind of our mentality. Yeah. So if you want help, come join us. We interact just like Gabe does. Like, we're there for you too. We're just share more of our dirty laundry. That's all.
There you go.
One of the first people who, man, Art. That's exactly right. And that, as I'm learning right now, is the same in marketing, right? If you follow the story brand method, right, then it's all about making the prospect, right, the hero, right, and you're just the guide who's going to get him there. And from my stuff, I'm like, nah, bro, I'm going to get you there. Like you don't even have to like it. Just shut up and come along, and we'll get there. And Jake's like, stop it, make them the hero. And I'm like,
I don't sound like that all the time. Come on.
There you go. That's your Jake voice. So yeah. I've heard you do that a few times on the show.
In John's head, that's what I sound like.
Come on, bro. Exactly. Come on, bro. One of the first funny. like people that we brought onto the show, just like as an experiment, were some friends that I knew from jiu-jitsu, right? They were not business people at all, but they were just kind of like following along, and they just happened to be up in the morning, and they would put the show on. And the guy was telling me, like, man, I'm thinking about things differently. I'm thinking about my goal setting differently, like what I want to do. And now they've got a farm, and actually his partner, who was on the show with us, got a promotion to where she is now the executive director of a huge recycling thing down in Austin. So, I mean, I'm not saying that we're directly responsible for that, but like, you own everything you do in the day, right? And this is super important, because if you follow Jocko, right, he talks about extreme ownership, right? And you talk about, start with why and all of these things. Your why should lead to a lot of ownership about the things that you need to be doing in your day, the activities that help you get your message out, help the people who you're trying to help, and everything else like this. When you can do that well, and you can manage that time, all the other excuses kind of drop away, right? So the whole point of the build bet, right, is to make sure that these things that we say that we're going to do don't just get lost in the weeds, right? Mm-hmm. And one of the really interesting things that we kind of discovered was lots of people are motivated by pain, right? The fear of loss, right? Losing money and everything else like this. So that's pretty well established, but we didn't really think there was a great component to kind of get you shifting away from just being motivated by pain, because after a certain point, the money doesn't matter anymore, right? I was a professional poker player in 2006. And one of the weirdest things about playing poker full time is you just lose respect for money. It's bizarre, right? Like, I can go to WinStar, the closest casino, if it wasn't COVID, and I could drop down $1,000 on the table, play all night, and have no anxiety about it at all, because I realized that I could probably win the game and make some money and stuff like this. But then I'm like, this $150 grocery trip, do I really need $150 grocery? Right? It messes with your monetary concept. So the thing that we find unique is that since Jake knows my big 5-year goals, right, he can hold me accountable. So when I'm going through my week and I say, I'm going to do this and this and this and this and this, he knows that that's moving me towards what I should be moving towards or not, right? Because you can play it safe, right? You can do the comfortable things. And that's really important, right? Because your goals are not going to be inside of your comfort zone for anybody that I've ever worked with. So you got to get outside of that. And what happens is we avoid these things, that sales call that you're supposed to follow up on that you don't really want to. And so instead you're going to pick up your phone and your thumb just goes to Facebook, and all of a sudden you're 7 scrolls down 30 minutes later, and you just literally caught 30 minutes on fire for no really great reason.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll tell you what, if you make it to where you got to pay a cause that you hate $500 at the end of the week if you don't get this stuff done.
That time.
Well, and there's the win side too, right? I thought that's where you were going with it. Is we also figured out degrees of bets, right? And the more uncomfortable the bet is, the more of it you can take home with you. So, like at the end of the week, it's a $500 bet. Mm-hmm. If it's okay, cool, you should do that. That's a 10% win. So if you get the bet, you complete it, you get to keep $50. You don't lose 500. Yeah. But if you do something way outside of your zone of comfort, if I asked John to launch something tomorrow without thinking about it, that would be a huge bet for him, right? Right. So we call those 30% bets. So the bigger the bet, like the bigger the stakes for your own comfort in a good way, the more you get to keep too. So there's a positive side to winning, right, and celebrating and enjoying the moment.
There's a momentum to goal setting, right? If you have never set like a real actionable goal, right? If you want to use the SMART goal method or something else like this, right? Then it is totally subjective. I want to lose weight. Okay, cool. I lost 2 pounds. That's not enough. Or, hey, I'm good. I'm going to have this cheesecake, right? So the SMART methodology is really important. And the thing that Jake and I place our bets around is not the end result, right? Mm-hmm. It's everything that we have control over too, right? And this is really important because in sales, you can do everything right and still get a no. And that's really important, right? Mm-hmm. They can have motivation. They can have money. You can know who's involved. You can know when they're going to buy. You can know the path to yes. You can know who you're up against. You can check all those boxes and still not get the deal. So if that's the only way you can win as a business owner, as a person in a role and stuff like that, that sucks, right? Mm. So bring that one step back. Did I do everything that I could do? Did I make the ask? Did I ask the hard questions? Did I hold them accountable? Did I do my agreements where they bought in, right? Was my rapport strong? All of these things. If I do those things right, I don't care about the outcome. Because just like in poker, right? I can get my money in as like a 90% favorite and the other person's only 10% to win and I can still lose that hand. Mm-hmm. So if I make my worth about whether or not I win that hand, that sucks. You're just going to end up at the bottom of a very, very heavy black hole that's going to be hard to work out of.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't do that, right? All of our bets are around like what we control, right? So a couple of weeks ago, I made a bet that I needed to ask 150 people to join my Facebook group, right? I have a Facebook group. It's called Scaled Sales. And that I didn't have to get 100 people to join. I just had to make the 150 asks. And when you start doing stuff like that, right? Like little bitty things about taking ownership over, cool, I can handle this thing, but anything past this, I can't fix. I have no control, so I'm not even going to worry about it, right?
Exactly.
Things start to shift in the rest of your life. And like that is, in my opinion, the real power of like the build bet, right? When you take accountability for your time, you stop making excuses, right? You stop saying, well, I'm going to do that in a little bit. I'm going to do that in a little bit. And then all of a sudden it's 5:30 and it's time to go.
Exactly.
That stuff still has to get done.
Well, and John and I have been talking about this, is our favorite no in 2021, our favorite word is no. Like that's going to be the thing for us, because John and I both, which is funny because we're different personality types. I'm actually on the D side. I'm a D over an I, right? I love people, but I'm a little higher on the D side. So, right, dominant. I go at things hard, but I love people. So I have a tendency to, if I'm not having a good time and enjoying the things going on, I bail. Yeah. I'm like, no, this party's dead, bro. Let's go somewhere else. But that means I get myself into 10 different things, and none of them work. Right? John does the same thing, but from a different personality perspective. But the problem's still there. And so once you understand what you're lying to yourself about, then you could make measured decisions that actually are going to make an impact and be more effective for what you're trying to get to.
And that can be translated not only in business and life.
Yep.
In everything just what you just said alone, that statement alone, just what you said alone, you can translate it to every single portion of your life. If you ask that question and you can get the answer that you want, you'll be pretty good. You'll have a pretty good life. So
yeah, and John and I started adding the personal bets in too for that same reason, Gabe, because we were like, if we want to be good family men, this applies everywhere.
It does in every. That's why I said in every aspect, in every realm of how you live your life, you take the same. You can take the same approach in business and your own personal life. Because again, you got to find it. You got to have that balance, and that's what this is about. And if you can do that, man, you're golden. You'll realize that you're living what I tell everybody. If you can find out these sort of things, you're living heaven on earth. You just don't know it. When you realize it, go ahead.
No, please finish your thought. I didn't want to.
No, I was just saying, you get to that point where if you can come to the realization of those sort of deals like what you guys are talking about, every day you get up, man, and it's like, this isn't even work.
Yeah. This
is just life. This is what I'm doing. This is all it is. I don't have to look at it from one perspective and go and separate my business from my personal, because there's a 24-hour clock and it all goes together. We all get the same 86,400 seconds every single day.
So in startup and in entrepreneurship, the idea of like the shiny thing, right, is very well established, right? Everybody talks about it, and then everyone talks about how time is this like resource that you don't get back, right? And it's talked about so much that it's kind of lost its meaning. And like, that's kind of what it done for me. I'm like, oh, time. Yeah, I have time later on. And then I read Essentialism by, I think, Greg McKeown. And the way that he talks about it in there finally made it kind of like hit home, right? And being, right, if I blow off part of my day to go long on this networking call because I'm having good rapport with somebody, then that means that the thing I was supposed to do after that doesn't get done then. It's going to have to be done later on after the other stuff happens, right? And that means that is time taken away from my family, right? Or doing other things, right? Or like managing my self-care. And all because I wasn't disciplined in the moment, right? And so like when you start thinking about that, like when you're saying yes to something, you were saying no to something else that could be happening at that exact time. So think about that, right? When you go long on a call, when you turn to email or something else, like, we make these little bitty decisions out of avoidance all the time. Art asks a good question that I would love to like answer.
I was looking it up and I said, let me put that on there. Hope they see it. That's a good one.
So
John, before you hop in on that one, because I know where you're going. I think I know where you're going to end with this. I just want to say, it's a good question, and this is why accountability is needed. This is why accountability is needed. This question. Absolutely. This is a great reason for that.
So I'm gonna use a bit of a metaphor because this is how I kind of coach around everything. But there have been many times where I have been in the casino, right, and I'm sitting at a table, right, and I just kind of got a bad draw, and my table sucks, right, and the great table is right over here, right, and I can see it. It's going crazy. Stacks are in play. People are getting stacked. People are cussing, screaming. It's crazy. It's awesome. I'm like, man, I want to be right there.
It's like a perfume weekend, baby.
Exactly. And I'm like,
way to drop back, Jake. Way to drop back.
I'm like, you know what? I'm gonna go play in that game. That game's gonna be awesome. But you know what? I'm down $20 in this game, so I'm gonna move over there after I make my $20 back, right? And then what happens is like I'm not worried about the game or anything else. I just want to make my $20 back. So then I played terrible, right? Like I don't play with the right frame of mind. And the only thing that's happened is I have sunk cost bias is the only thing that is like keeping me at that table. Because if I disconnect from that person sitting at that table, do I want to play in the crappy game or do I want to play in the really good game? You want to go play in the really good game, right? And this is important because I bring the same methodology to like how I think about sales and how I coach people to sell. Right? If you have a process that qualifies people, right? You're asking questions around the things that normally trip things up and you're front loading that stuff. So you're talking about it before you pitch, then you should know with a pretty high certainty that the person that you're actually presenting to has a good shot to close. But what happens is most of these people are just in a rush to pitch, right? Because some companies really put a whole lot of emphasis on pitching, right? If you're not pitching enough, right? Always be closing and all of this crap that people talk about. It's nonsense, right? Always be closing. You're the person nobody wants to hang around. And I know this because I was that guy, right? I was talking about Kung Fu earlier, right? I was the guy at the Kung Fu school who was trying to sell phones. And then I was trying to sell mutual funds and annuities and banking. And like, these are people who like know me super well and they don't give a crap about any of this stuff, but I was always trying to close It was just a nightmare.
So I'm gonna lead this into my final wrap up question. I ask this question of every single guest that come on the show, and there is no right or wrong answer.
Let me shake my hair out.
It's just, there you go. It's just about perspective, and I just want to hear your answer. So I'm going to ask you both. So when the book is said and done on Jake Jordan and John Hill, what kind of legacy do you guys want to leave behind, and what do you want to be remembered for?
I got that one, John. I can go first if you want.
Please.
I heard that. I heard
Give me
that,
some
bro.
time because the spreadsheets aren't going to play well here. Go ahead.
You asked to see to feel, man. Wow, the robot is.
Well, we're gonna
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Short circuiting.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Yeah. So yeah, I have a life statement that I empower and equip the cause driven so that they can change the world. So my goal in life is to find people that are trying to make the world a better place and go equip them well. That's what I'm about. And I actually just wrote an obituary for myself 2 weeks ago, because I want to back my life into that, because what I want people to remember about me.
I absolutely love that. I love that.
For only $4.95, you can do it too.
Come check out my ClickFunnels offer. I've got a course.
I can help you. That's right. We can level up your obituary right here.
That's right. I got a tripwire offer. I got you the first line for $4.
Just make that thing look sexy. Make it look sexy.
That's right. I make sexy teeth.
All right, John Hill.
Line? No. If I had gotten Gabe to spit, I just would have left, right? I would have Costanza'd and been like, okay, it's not getting any better than that. I just have to go.
You almost did.
Okay, man. All right, I'll try a little bit harder. For me, right, when I first took my DISC assessment, right, and my coach, who I still work with to this day, it's been 7 years at this point, and he sits me down and he tells me, hey, the reason why you struggle with this is because on paper this is a struggle, right? And I have that moment of hearing all of these things, right, of like who C's are, and I realized that like all these things that I thought were unique to just me were not. Right. And so the way that I start to think about it is like, oh, okay, cool. If I'm a C, that means other people have been C's, and some of these people have had to sell. So some people have figured out, let me go find those people. Right. I'm a big coached person, right? Coming from martial arts and coming from poker, you have got to make sure that you have a coach, because you can tell yourself anything you want, right? In all realms, right? Sales and business are the same. I'm killing it. And so the thing that I would really like to do and be known for is that I think there's a lot of people who have really great ideas about businesses to start, and ideas and services and everything else like this, who will never start it because they're terrified of the sales component, because they have been led to believe that it's something you were born with. And it drives me crazy. Like I hear it. I hear this stuff now because like as a kid with a stutter, I can remember like an uncle being like, hey, you should be in sales. You like to talk to people. And my mom being like, don't do that. Right. Because I had a stutter. Right.
Yeah.
That was after I told my mom I wanted to be a stand-up comedian. And she goes, maybe something else, but if you don't have any fear about the sales conversation because the stigma does not exist in your mind, your conversations are effortless, right? We make it difficult, right? So if I can help people understand that like this is not something you have to be coming out of the womb being like, hey, does that sound fair? Because nobody does, right? And you can have accountability, right? You can have someone who's holding you accountable, looking for these blind spots with you to make sure you're not lying to yourself. You schedule your behaviors, right? You live out of your calendar. You can do anything and you can get used to it. All this stuff that everybody's seeing is learned, adjusted behavior. Left to my own devices, Jake will tell you, I'm just going to be in here looking at spreadsheet and data points and like things that just excite nobody else but me. So this effervescence, this outgoingness, like this is all adjusted behavior because I know that I have to like be good at my role. So if the robot can like figure this stuff out, no, the robot has some feelings, right? And some empathy. Anybody else can do it as well. You just got to have the right motivation, and the stigma has to be removed from your view. That's what I would like to do.
Hey, like I said, I love that answer. There is no right or wrong answer for some of these things. I just love hearing about the perspective that somebody might answer that in their trajectory of their timeline of where they are in life, because it's one of those things that sort of changes over time for some folks. I mean, I've had to ask this, and I've asked this question of everybody. So if I had to ask a 16-year-old, right, his answer is not going to be the same in 40 years.
No.
But to hear it at that one point, and then maybe at some point I might not be on this earth anymore, but he might see this video and let me go see what my answer was. To go back and look and say, wow, I've changed quite a bit. That's a different part of my life now, and it's kind of like with journaling, right? When you go back and look in your journals, look at the stuff that you wrote 10 years ago. You're not the same person, but that's you. You trust it. Those are your words. That's your handwriting. That's everything about it. That's why I love journaling. That's why I love that you do this. I've been journaling since I was 17 years old.
Dude,
I have books and books upon it of just stuff that I write, because I have to have somewhere to input all this stuff that comes up here, and I just it kind of just leaves those pinpoints upon your life, right? You can go back in any one book and pull one of your books and go back and read it. And you go, man, I'm not that dude no more. I'm glad I'm not that dude no more.
Yeah. So I take a different approach, right? I do two different kinds of journaling. One of them is just stream of consciousness, and that comes from this book called The Artist's Way that my grandmother had shown to me like way back in the day. I told her I wanted to be an author, and she was like, "You should read this book." And the idea is that with that, when you're just fighting through that critic, a stream of consciousness, right? You don't shut yourself down. And one of Jake and I's favorite books is called The Inner Game of Tennis. It talks about this idea of self one, self two. And self one is like your critic, and self two is just the thing that wants to do the thing. And so that stuff I never want to reference again, right? I actually burn those journals because I don't want to go back and look at them, because it's just about getting it out past the critic. Now, in the evenings when I'm doing my like reflection journaling, like what did I do? Where did I get in my way? How did I, if I repeated this day 1,000 times, would I be closer to my goal? Like those are the kind of questions I ask myself in my journal. And that stuff is super important because I can be real with my accountability buddy. But the thing that's really important is that I got to be real with myself, right? Mm-hmm. And I love that question. If I do this 1,000 times this day today, am I going to be closer to my goals? Am I going to be closer to where I want to be? And like, I love that as a question, right? Because it's kind of like the ultimate equalizer, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. So I think about my death a little bit differently than Jake does, but I liked his point of view. But I do this other thing. I have a death date, right? Which I learned from this guy called Neville Madhora. He's got this thing called copywriting course. He's a copywriter, and he has this book, right? You're going to die, right? And
yeah,
you're going to eventually, right? So as opposed to putting it off and putting it off and putting it off, and one day, right? In my mind, if I make it past 75, everything is gravy, right? So the goal is to die, just kill over dead on my 75th birthday, right? Because I kind of feel like at that point, that's enough time to do everything I want to do. My daughter will be grown, right? I can die at that point. But we've been talking all week all this show about deadlines and why they're important, and we do these sprints each week. Like, you can do the same thing with your life, right? By the time I'm 75, I want to be this and this and this and this and this and this and this. And that has been oddly helpful to me over the past year and a half or so of like having that of looking at it, right? Because now it's a countdown. Okay, cool. What do I want to get done in this time? Right. And then you bring in the essentialism, right? When I'm saying yes to something now, I'm saying no to something else. So what am I saying no to in this moment when I'm saying yes to this thing that I shouldn't be saying yes to?
I love that, man. I've done the same sort of deal. Mine is 80.
Okay.
That's mine. And again,
how old are you now, Gabe? Can I ask?
I am 46 now.
You're 46.
So
okay.
Yeah. So for me, 80 is my number, and I tell people that come on here all the time. Guess what? 100% of the people born will die. It's a natural sort of fact. I don't know anybody's got a life alive. So yeah, you got to know your time on this earth is finite. You realize those things, you take those in. That's one of the things about when you come to the realization of it, you're like, cool. If you come to terms with it, your life's even better. And if I don't fear death, there's nothing else in this world that I can fear. It's just.
Can we put hold on. Can we put Paula's comment up on the screen real quick? Because like she put that in there and
Isn't that great?
it is fantastic.
So good.
Right?
Okay.
It's so true.
Hold on, let me find it.
Right?
Paula, here it is. Okay.
Yes.
Did I pass it? Oh,
Maybe. Yeah.
There it
That's
is.
it right there. Right. And that's important. One of the things that I did earlier this year was I started to do my reflection journaling is just questions. Right. Like, could I have done better today? Well, maybe, but did I need to? Right. And doing this very kind of like weird, obtuse kind of like questioning of myself, because as a C, the thing that gets in my way is like the fear of being wrong. I want to be right all the time.
yeah.
So sometimes I would write these things down and I'd be like, oh, that's not true. And I'd scribble it out. But when I could frame it as a question,
You on camera?
right,
It's sparkly.
I could then do something different with it, right? and honestly, this is weird, right? But like this all started with the beard, right? Because like in my family, the men don't really grow facial hair, so like I grew up around the idea can't grow a beard, and then I turned it into a joke so that way I could be the person who owns it, so that way I can make a crack about it, and then it had become this thing in my head, this huge thing. And then like COVID happens and I just stopped shaving, and like lo and behold, this thing grows on my face. And it's wildly debated if it's nice looking or not, but
it's there.
It's there. And I was wrong.
Exactly,
wrong
right?
about this thing about myself. And so then I'm like, what else could I be wrong about? And
There's
that was like the keystone moment of like my journaling starting to shift for me.
Awesome. So guys, I hate to end such a good night, but
I gotta go
it's
check
like
on my
anything.
cheesecake.
So I just want to tell everybody, guys, where's the best place for people to connect with you guys? I've put your LinkedIn profile in the link in the comments. So if people want to connect with you on LinkedIn, they're more than welcome to. There is John's right there, and there is Jake's, and I've also put the link for the Facebook guys so they can go watch tomorrow, or not tomorrow. Excuse me,
Not tomorrow.
Not tomorrow. Don't go tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm going to sell you wrong, and then
December.
I'm going to hear it. And it'll be one of those things. So, but
If you do that, are you no longer debonair?
Yeah, I'm no longer debonair. Yes,
no longer debonair.
So, everybody, thank you so much for joining along. It's been a wonderful conversation, guys. You guys are the lifeblood of what I do here. You rock, and I am so glad that every single one of you comes here and shows up every night and is part of this wonderful community of incredible individuals. So thank you, Jake. Thank you, John. Guys, sit tight for 1 second. Everybody else, I will be back here tomorrow, 7:30 Central Standard Time. You know the drill. I don't even remember the guest name right now. It's slipping the top of my head. There's
That's
so
how
many.
good we are.
It runs away so much.
He doesn't have one. He's scrambling.
He's scrambling, right? No, so I do have one tomorrow. I can't remember. I forget, and I do this to Russ all the time, Russ Johns, because you were on the show. I asked Russ, "Who's your guest?" and he goes, "I forget," and I know exactly where he's coming from, so that's why I do it to him. So, all right, thank you everybody who's been a part of this one, guys. You know how we do it. Stay safe, stay blessed, and we'll get through this together. And good night, everybody.
Good night.